bulk ag. One of those things is quality of the product. You know, I used to say that and didn't really have a large enough experience to say that was actually true. Recently, a couple of customers in Taiwan who have been buying for the last 6 to 8 months their corn in bulk commented to me that they hope containers get competitive again because they really want to get that container quality back. You know, they're experiencing higher FM and in the vessel itself, quite a disparity load to load of the corn quality. Some of the soybean guys have been saying the same thing. But there's a price at that value. Containers wasn't able to be cheap enough to absorb that. Now they kind of are pretty close again. But I think we're going to maintain this quality edge over dry bulk for a long time. We also can trace, if a customer needs to, right down to 25 metric tons where their grain came from. That's an advantage we have over dry bulk. We do have risk advantage. You can buy smaller sizes. You can commit to a smaller pricing quantity. Your cash flow needs are significantly less with containers than it is with dry bulk. And the other thing is, this is a big deal. Some people call it democratization of the supply chain. I don't know. It just means that you have more, as buyers, you have more options for suppliers. You know, there's 4, 5, 6 dominant bulk channels, and containers, it's maybe 100. You've got to choose your partners wise, for sure, but you do have more options with this channel. And I think all of that means is this marketplace has some sustainability to it. And the other thing about the marketplace today compared to 3 or 4 years ago, which helps its durability, is some key points. The steamship lines today have really developed better core technologies. They can turn around bills of lading quicker. So our document challenge is getting less today than what it was 2 or 3 years ago. You know, within reason, if they give a shipper a booking, there's usually boat capacity behind it. There's usually boxes available for it. If you go back about a year ago or 18 months ago, steamship lines would give out bookings that simply had no capacity behind it. As a shipper, I didn't know what I had. I had a piece of paper. I didn't know what kind of a commitment I had. I think steamship lines have made a concerted effort to improve on that. If they give you a booking, there's actually something meaningful behind it. They're also dedicated to building the right relationships with suppliers and buyers. The other thing is suppliers are starting to know their limits. I don't think there's a major supplier today in the container ag loading business that didn't get their butt handed to them at some point in the last 3 or 4 years doing something stupid. Whether it be selling too much, overcommitting on capacity, overcommitting on document needs, the list is on and on. And many of us lost money. We got our tuition handed to us, and we're better for it. I think we're better suppliers for it. We're more realistic about what we can do. Steamship lines went through the exact same maturation, that they're better at it too. We're also seeing more and more of the ag pipeline having the grain in it being inspected by federal agents. You know, of those 130 loaders, I can guarantee you that they all weren't having Figgis guys represented on site loading grain. Just weren't. As we've shrunk the number of suppliers, I think we've also increased the surveillance of the channel itself. And I've already commented on this. I think the steamship lines have done a better job of figuring out what market they're in and pricing their service to meet that market, which is healthy for you and us because we should have a more stable supply of containers that are priced correctly to the marketplace. Bo, I took a couple of your slides from last year. You probably already recognize that. But one of the things he put up, which I think is a really, really good reminder, is this idea about quality and are we really experiencing consistent quality in containers? And he did a sampling of a couple thousand containers, and I did the same thing in our system and compared kind of what our bookings averaged against what we're allowed to do. And we did have on corn, everything was 2 or better consistently across the board. And soybeans, same thing, 2s or better. We don't have these big vessels where we can blend up to hit the perfect limit of what you're allowed with our specs. So we are experiencing pretty good quality in our container loading. So just a couple thoughts, my thoughts about what does this mean for us together in the future as far as the components that say this thing's going to exist. Capacity is growing. We talked about the boats and the boxes and the transloaders are there, ready and able to serve this market. I think our quality and our risk profile in containers is always going to have an edge over bulk. The buyers are going to grow in number. We're going to find more buyers and more ports that are going to like what we're doing. And that's important to the steamship lines in terms of expanding the footprint of where their containers can go. Steamship lines are committed to this business. They've got a lot of infrastructure to feed the United States on an import side. They're highly leveraged. They're going to be very interested in maintaining a revenue stream on the export side to pay for that. And when you look at it, what I think I said 7% was our peak point in terms of what we displaced ag to the pack room. There's a lot of growth potential there, and they know that. And bulk freight rates just aren't going to kill this. If you go down to 20, 25, we're still going to find discriminating buyers that are going to want some attribute inside the container itself. Price, quality, some sort of distinction. So I think what you're doing here, the focus that you have on this, on containers, is here for the long haul. And the shippers that are still here today, or in the marketplace today, are probably the ones you want to spend a little time with, because they're the ones, a lot of them are the ones that were here 4 years ago. They're the ones that went through the last cycle where there was nothing for us to do. And we're here today. We're quite committed to the business. And there's enough of us that you can rely on the supply chain being solid for a number of years. That's all I have.